President Yunsu Nam stood before the Galactic Assembly, looking out at representatives from 200 alien species. The Great Hall buzzed with nervous energy, as beings who had once ignored humanity now hung on her every word. The galaxy had changed, and everyone knew it. 6 months ago, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems, the Draknari hegemony attacked human colonies. They killed innocent people. They destroyed peaceful settlements. They believed humans were weak and would surrender quickly. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Every species present had heard the stories. How human fleets had appeared from nowhere. How Draknari technology had proven useless against human weapons. How the most powerful military empire in known space had surrendered in less than 4 months. They were wrong, Yunsu continued. But their mistake has created an opportunity. A chance to build something better than the old galaxy of endless war and conquest. In the audience, former war leader Kethvar sat with the other Draknari representatives. He wore simple clothes now instead of military armor. His once proud bearing was gone, replaced by the humility of someone who had learned the price of arrogance. Next to him sat Ambassador Sora Jang, the human diplomat assigned to help the Draknari rebuild their society. She had lost family in the colony attacks but had volunteered for this assignment anyway. Forgiveness, she said, was harder than revenge but more important. The old system failed, Yunsu announced to the assembly. Strong species conquered weak ones. Empires grew through violence and fear. Peaceful civilizations lived in terror of their aggressive neighbors. This will not continue. She gestured to the holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Former Draknari territory was highlighted in blue, now under human protection. Dozens of other regions were marked in green, showing species that had voluntarily requested human guardianship. Humanity offers a new model, Yunsu explained. Protection for those who cannot protect themselves. Justice for those who have been wronged. Peace for those who choose to live without violence. In the back of the hall, Admiral Jinsu Park watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction, the same Jinsu who had watched the colonies burn 6 months ago. He now wore the uniform of the Galactic Defense Academy, where former enemies learned to work together under human guidance. His students included young Draknari officers who were being retrained to protect instead of conquer. Alien tacticians who studied human military doctrine not to defeat it, but to apply its principles of proportional response and civilian protection. The choice is simple, Yunsu told the assembly. Join the new galactic order voluntarily, or wait for someone to attack you and then ask for our help. Either way, humans will respond. We do not allow innocents to suffer when we have the power to stop it. The vote was unanimous. Every species chose to join the human-led galactic protection system. Even the Draknari, represented by their former war leader, voted yes. Dr. Ne Young Kim walked through the memorial gardens on the rebuilt New Jeju colony. The flowers bloomed in soil that contained ash from the old colony, mixed with earth from 100 different worlds. It was meant to symbolize how life could grow from loss, how peace could come from war. Children played among the flowers, human children, Draknari children, youngsters from dozens of species who had never known war. They laughed together in the artificial sunlight, unaware that their peaceful games were possible because of the dragons that watched over them. Above the garden, carved into crystal that could be seen from orbit, were the names of everyone who had died in the colony attacks. Below them, a simple message in every known language. They died so that others might live in peace. Nayang touched one of the nameplates, a young girl who had been helping in the agricultural labs when the attack came. She had been just 16, full of dreams about making barren worlds bloom with life. She would have liked this, said a voice behind her. Nayang turned to see Admiral Sun-hee Choi, the architect of humanity's victory. The admiral looked older now, worn down by the weight of command and the decisions she had made. Do you think it was worth it? Nayang asked. All the destruction? All the death? Sun-hee considered the question while watching alien children play with human ones. The Draknari would have continued conquering. Other species would have followed their example. Billions would have died in endless wars. We stopped that. By becoming the strongest force in the galaxy. By becoming the force that protects the weak from the strong, Sun-hee corrected. There is a difference, Nayang nodded. She had seen that difference in the way humans treated defeated enemies. Draknari prisoners were given medical care and education. not torture. Alien worlds were protected and rebuilt, not stripped of resources. Former enemies became allies, not slaves. In the Deep Space Monitoring Station at the edge of human territory, Captain Ming-Q Han reviewed the latest intelligence reports. His ship, the Ghost Wind, now patrolled the borders of protected space, watching for threats that might disturb the peace. "Anything interesting?" asked his tactical officer, Lieutenant Yujin Bei, who had been promoted after her successful special operations missions. "3 more species have requested protection status," Min-Q reported. "The Velthan Republic is being threatened by pirates. The Kalari Union is facing civil war. The Thresh Collective wants help dealing with a plague. Orders?" Min-Q looked at the star charts showing human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of ships ready to respond to any crisis. Dragons sleeping lightly, prepared to wake at a moment's notice. "Dispatch relief fleets to all 3 locations," he ordered. "Standard protection protocols. Minimal force necessary to restore peace." It was how humans operated now. They did not conquer or rule directly. They simply ensured that no one else could conquer or rule through violence. It was a heavy responsibility, but one that humanity had accepted. On Earth, in the United Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Sun Hee Choi met with her senior staff to review the state of the galaxy. The holographic display showed a map painted mostly in peaceful colors: green for protected systems, blue for human territory, yellow for neutral but stable regions. Only a few red areas remained, distant sectors where aggressive species still tried to build empires through conquest. They would be dealt with when they threatened peaceful neighbors. "Status report," Sun Hee requested. "Galactic Stability Index is at 97%, reported General Tae Jun-yu. Interspecies conflicts are down by 80% from pre-war levels. Trade and cultural exchange are at all-time highs. Draknari integration, proceeding ahead of schedule. Former military officers are adapting well to defensive roles. Civilian population has fully embraced the protection accords. War leader Kethvar sends his monthly report expressing gratitude for human guidance." Sun Hee smiled slightly. The same alien who had ordered the destruction of human colonies now worked to prevent other species from making the same mistakes. It was perhaps the greatest victory of all, turning an enemy into an ally through justice rather than vengeance. Any new threats? Several minor incidents. Pirates in the Outer Rim, territorial disputes in the Andorian sector. "Nothing that requires full fleet response," Sun Hee nodded. This was how she had always imagined victory would look. Not the silence of dead worlds, but the quiet hum of peaceful civilizations going about their daily lives without fear. "Maintain current patrol schedules," she ordered. "And remind all fleet commanders, we are guardians, not conquerors. We protect the peace, not enforce human rule." As her staff dispersed to carry out their duties, Sun Hee remained alone in the command center, looking at the galactic map. 6 months ago, it had been painted in the colors of war: red zones of conflict, black areas of conquest, purple regions where the strong preyed on the weak. Now it showed something that had never existed before in galactic history: a stable, peaceful civilization spanning hundreds of star systems, different species working together, former enemies becoming friends, children growing up without the fear of war. The Draknari had awakened the dragons by attacking human colonies. They had expected to find weakness and had instead discovered strength beyond their imagination. But more than strength, they had found something even more powerful: the wisdom to use that strength responsibly. In the memorial gardens on New Jeju, as the artificial sun set and the first stars appeared, children from a dozen species played one last game before bedtime. Above them, sleek human warships moved silently across the sky, their running lights like protective stars watching over the peaceful world below. The dragons were awake now, and they would remain awake, not to conquer or destroy, but to ensure that the galaxy's children could sleep safely in their beds, dreaming of futures free from fear. It was, Admiral Sun Hee Choi thought as she watched the reports from across protected space, exactly the kind of future worth fighting for. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyun Cha stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Final Justice as it dropped out of hyperspace. Around him, 300 human warships materialized from the void like angels of death. They had come to end the Draknari hegemony once and for all. "Target analysis," he ordered his tactical officer. "Draknari Home System, Admiral. Primary world Draknar Prime, population 8 billion. Orbital Defense Platforms Number 47. Fleet strength approximately 200 ships of various classes. Dong-hyun studied the tactical display. The Draknari had pulled back their remaining forces to defend their homeworld. It was exactly what human strategists had predicted. Aliens always tried to protect their core worlds when they were losing. It made them predictable. Send the message, he ordered. Across Draknari space, every communication system received the same transmission. Admiral Sun Hee Choi appeared on screens throughout the alien empire, her voice carrying the weight of human judgment. People of the Draknari hegemony, she began. 4 months ago, your leaders attacked peaceful human colonies. They killed 200,000 innocent people, including children and families who had never threatened anyone. The transmission showed recordings from the colony attacks, Draknari soldiers executing civilians, burning cities, screaming children. The aliens watching could not deny what their military had done. Your leaders believed humans were weak, Sun Hee continued. They thought we would surrender after seeing your power. They were wrong. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. And we do not forget. The display changed to show the human fleet surrounding HFY. Hundreds of massive warships that dwarfed anything the Draknari had ever built. Ships that seemed to bend the laws of physics with their impossible maneuvers. Your military has been destroyed, Sun Hee stated. Your fleets are scattered. Your commanders hide in bunkers. You have one choice remaining: unconditional surrender, or watch your homeworld burn. War leader Kethvar sat in his underground command bunker, staring at the transmission in disbelief. The human fleet surrounding his homeworld was beyond anything he had imagined possible. Where had these ships come from? How had humans built such massive vessels without anyone detecting them? Analysis of human fleet composition, he demanded from his terrified staff. Unknown ship classes, war leader, his tactical officer replied with a shaking voice. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. These vessels appear to be using exotic matter drives, gravitational manipulation, and weapons that operate on principles we do not understand. Kethvar looked at the defense projections. Even with all remaining Draknari forces combined, they had no chance against this human fleet. It would be a massacre. Estimated human casualties if we resist? 0, war leader. Our weapons appear incapable of penetrating their defensive systems. Kethvar closed his eyes. His empire had conquered dozens of species over 3 centuries. They had always won through superior technology and tactics. Now they faced beings whose capabilities seemed almost godlike. Open. A channel to the human fleet, he ordered. General Seo-jin Kim watched through her helmet display as human soldiers advanced through the Draknari military academy. The aliens had tried to make a final stand here, training their young warriors to fight the human invasion. It had been a mistake. Human soldiers moved like nothing the Draknari had ever faced. Enhanced by technology that improved their speed, strength, and reflexes, they struck with precision that seemed supernatural. Draknari weapons that could destroy buildings barely scratched human armor. Resistance eliminated in Section 7, reported one of her squad leaders. Alien casualties, 43. Human casualties, 0, Seo-jin nodded grimly. This was not a battle. It was an extermination. The Draknari had trained to fight other aliens who used similar tactics and technology. They had no idea how to face humans who treated war as both science and art. Orders, General, asked her lieutenant. Seo-jin looked at the captured Draknari soldiers. Young aliens who had been taught that their species was superior to all others, who had believed they were destined to rule the galaxy. Now they cowered before humans like children afraid of monsters. Process them according to Protocol 7, she ordered. Full psychological evaluation. We need to understand how their military thinks. The captured aliens would not be tortured or killed. Humans had learned long ago that fear was more effective than cruelty. These prisoners would be studied, their weaknesses analyzed, their tactics dissected. Then they would be returned to their people carrying the knowledge that resistance was hopeless. Dr. Wan Siko stood in the weapons control center of the Judgment Day, watching as his latest creation prepared to fire. The quantum disruptor was a weapon that should not exist according to known physics. It could reshape matter at the molecular level, turning solid objects into exotic particles. Target confirmed, reported his weapons officer. Draknari military moonbase Keth 7. No civilian population. Wansik had insisted on that. Human weapons could destroy planets, but humans chose their targets carefully. Military installations only. The goal was to break alien resistance, not commit genocide. Fire when ready, he ordered. The quantum disruptor activated with no visible beam or explosion. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Dreknari moonbase simply changed. The metal and rock transformed into a crystalline structure that sparkled like jewels in the starlight. Target neutralized, the weapons officer reported. Base converted to inert crystal matrix. All military equipment disabled. Wansik nodded with satisfaction. The weapon had worked perfectly. The Dreknari military base was now a beautiful but useless sculpture. No one had died, but the message was clear. Human technology could reshape reality itself. Across the Dreknari fleet, alien commanders watched the transformation in speechless terror. Their moon base had not been destroyed, it had been turned into art. The implications were horrifying. If humans could do this to a military installation, what could they do to planets, to entire star systems? Admiral Dong Hyun-cha received the surrender transmission as he expected. War leader Kethvar appeared on screen, his proud alien features broken by defeat and fear. "I am War leader Kethvar of the Dreknari hegemony," the alien said in a voice that trembled with exhaustion. We formally surrender to human forces. Unconditionally. Please, show mercy to our people." Dong Hyun studied the alien commander who had ordered the destruction of human colonies. Part of him wanted revenge, wanted to see this creature suffer as human families had suffered. But humans were better than that. "Your surrender is accepted," he replied formally. "All Dreknari military forces will stand down immediately. Your fleet will be disarmed and impounded. Your leaders will face trial for war crimes. And our people?" Kethvar asked desperately. "Our civilians? Our children?" Dong Hyun paused before answering. This was the moment that would define how the galaxy saw humanity. The choice between vengeance and justice. "Your civilians will be protected," he said finally. "Your children will be safe. Humans do not make war on innocence, unlike some species." The relief on Kethvar's alien features was visible even across species barriers. The Dreknari had expected extermination. Instead, they found mercy from the beings they had tried to destroy. Boram Lee stood in the ruins of New Jeju Colony, watching human engineers rebuild what the Dreknari had destroyed. The agricultural domes were rising again, stronger than before. The gardens would bloom once more. Beside her stood Dr. Na Young Kim, brought back from the edge of death by human medical technology that could heal almost any injury. She was thin and scarred, but alive, a symbol of human resilience. "Do you think they learned their lesson?" Na Young asked, looking up at the Dreknari prisoner ships being escorted away by human cruisers. Boram considered the question. The Dreknari hegemony was finished. Their military was destroyed. Their empire was dissolving as conquered species declared independence. Other alien civilizations across the galaxy were sending diplomatic messages to Earth, asking for protection from threats they could not handle alone. "They learned," Boram replied. "And more importantly, everyone else learned too. The galaxy knows what happens when you attack humans now." In orbit above them, human warships maintained their patrol, silent guardians watching over the rebuilt colony, dragons at rest but ready to wake if anyone threatened the peace they had fought to create. The Dreknari had wanted to teach humanity about power. Instead, they had learned that true power was knowing when to show mercy, and when not to. The lesson would not be forgotten. Captain Min-Kyu Han crouched in the shadows of the asteroid field, watching the Dreknari supply convoy through his ship's sensors. The ghost wind was invisible to alien scanners, wrapped in stealth technology that bent light and energy around its hull. To the Dreknari, empty space surrounded their ships. "Target analysis complete," whispered his tactical officer, Lieutenant Eugene Bay. 12 transport ships carrying weapons and fuel, 4 escort destroyers, standard Dreknari formation. Min-Kyu studied the enemy ships. 3 weeks ago, these same type of vessels had bombarded human colonies, had killed families and children, had turned peaceful farms into burning graves. Now it was time for payback. "Ghost wind to all units," he transmitted on a secure channel. "Begin the hunt." 5 human ships materialized from the asteroid field like deadly phantoms. They had been waiting here for days, studying Dreknari patrol patterns, learning alien weaknesses, planning the perfect ambush. The Dreknari never had a chance. Human weapons fired in perfect coordination. targeting the convoy's engines first. The alien ships found themselves trapped, unable to run or maneuver. Then the human ships closed in for the kill. But Min-Q did not just destroy the convoy. He had learned from the Draknari themselves. Terror was a weapon. Fear could win wars before the shooting even started. When the Draknari rescue ships arrived 6 hours later, they found their convoy arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. The ships had been carefully moved after being destroyed. Positioned to spell out a message in ancient Earth script, "We remember our dead." War leader Kethvar stared at the tactical display showing the destroyed convoy. This was the 15th attack in 2 weeks. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, then vanished before Draknari forces could respond. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his tactical staff. "Unknown, war leader," replied his chief analyst. "Their ships appear to use some form of advanced stealth technology. Our sensors cannot detect them until they choose to attack." "What about their ship designs? Are these the same vessels we saw at the colonies?" "No, sir. These are completely different. Larger, faster, more heavily armed. It is as if the humans have an entirely separate fleet that they kept hidden." Kethvar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans at the colonies had seemed so primitive. Simple fusion drives, basic hull plating, minimal weapons. These new human ships were using technology that the Draknari could not understand or counter. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving another transmission from the humans." The display showed a human woman in a transport pilot's uniform. Kethvar recognized her face from intelligence reports. This was Boram Lee, one of the survivors from the colony attacks. "I am Captain Lee of the Earth Defense Force," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with hatred. "You killed 12,000 people on Prosperity Station, including children, including families who had never hurt anyone in their lives." The transmission switched to show recordings from the colony attacks. Draknari soldiers shooting civilians, families running in terror, children crying for their parents. "You wanted to show us that you were strong," Boram continued, "that we should fear you. Instead, you showed us what monsters look like. And now we are going to show you what happens to monsters." The transmission ended with coordinates of a Draknari military base. A challenge. A promise. Major Yujin Bey led her special forces team through the ventilation shafts of the Draknari military station. They had infiltrated the base using technology that turned their soldiers nearly invisible to alien sensors. The Draknari guards walked past them without knowing humans were only meters away. "Target acquired," she whispered into her communicator. "Command center is 2 levels down. Garrison strength approximately 500 aliens." "Rules of engagement?" asked her lieutenant. Yujin thought about the human children who had died in the colony attacks, about families torn apart by alien weapons, about the desperate final messages from people who had only wanted to live in peace. "No prisoners," she replied. The human assault was swift and brutal. Yujin's team moved through the station like death itself, striking from shadows and disappearing before the aliens could react. Draknari soldiers found their comrades dead without ever seeing their killers. But the humans did not just kill. They sent a message. In the main command center, they left behind images of the destroyed colonies, pictures of the dead, names of every human who had been murdered, and one final note: "The dragons are awake." Admiral Kyung-Ho Lim watched the destruction of the Draknari fleet from the bridge of his flagship Vengeance. The alien admiral had fallen for the trap perfectly. Humans had pretended to retreat, drawing the Draknari ships into an asteroid field where they could not maneuver properly. Now the alien fleet was surrounded by human ships that seemed to appear and disappear at will. Draknari vessels exploded one by one, their crews never understanding how they were being destroyed. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the alien flagship is trying to surrender." Kyung-Ho looked at the tactical display. The Draknari admiral's ship was alone now, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. The alien was probably wondering how his superior force had been destroyed so easily. "Open a channel," Kyung-Ho ordered. The Draknari admiral appeared on screen. He was clearly terrified, his alien features twisted with fear and confusion. "Please," the alien begged. "We surrender. Do not destroy us. We did not know your species was so powerful." Kyung-Ho studied the alien's face. This creature had probably ordered the deaths of countless beings across the galaxy, had conquered peaceful worlds and enslaved entire species, and now he begged for mercy. "You did not offer mercy to our colonies," Kyung-Ho replied. You killed our children. You murdered our farmers. You destroyed our homes. And you did it because you thought we were weak. We were wrong, the alien said desperately. We see that now. Your species is mighty. We will leave your space. We will never attack humans again. Kyung-ho considered this offer for a moment. Then he thought about Dr. Na-Young Kim's final transmission from New Jeju Colony, about the terror in her voice as she watched aliens murder innocent people. You're right about one thing, he said finally. You will never attack humans again. The Vengeance fired its main weapons. The Draknari flagship exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. Across Draknari space, similar scenes played out. Human fleets appeared where they should not exist, struck with overwhelming force, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Alien supply lines collapsed. Communication networks went silent. Military bases became graveyards. The Draknari military began to panic. Their commanders issued increasingly desperate orders. Fleet movements became chaotic and predictable. Some alien units refused to leave their home bases, too terrified to face the invisible human ships. War leader Kethavar stood in his command center, watching his empire crumble. In 3 weeks, the humans had destroyed 30% of his military forces. They had done it without losing a single ship, without even revealing their true numbers or capabilities. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, we have intercepted human communications. They are using some kind of advanced encryption, but we managed to decode fragments. What do they say? They refer to this operation as Phase 1, War Leader. Phase 1 is almost complete. Kethavar felt his blood turn cold. If this was only the beginning, what came next? How much worse could it get? He was about to find out. On the bridge of Silent Thunder, Admiral Sun Hee Choi reviewed the battle reports. Phase 1 had exceeded all expectations. The Draknari were confused, demoralized, and scattered. Their military doctrine was in ruins. Their commanders no longer trusted their own sensors or tactics. Casualties? She asked. 0 human ships lost, Admiral. Draknari losses are approximately 40% of their fleet strength. Sun Hee nodded with satisfaction. The aliens had expected to fight weak humans with primitive technology. Instead, they faced the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Humans who had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. It was time to show the Draknari what total war really meant. 3 months had passed since the Draknari destroyed the human colonies. War leader Kethavar stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. Human space had gone completely silent. Not just quiet, totally empty, as if humans had simply stopped existing. Report, he ordered his intelligence officer. No human communications detected, War Leader. No ship movements. No trade signals. Even their civilian broadcasts have stopped. It is as if they have all died or fled their space entirely. Kethavar frowned. This was not how conquered species behaved. They should be begging for mercy by now, offering tribute, sending desperate diplomatic messages. Instead, there was nothing but empty space where a civilization used to be. Deep in the Sol system, Admiral Sun Hee Choi sat in her command chair aboard the massive battleship Silent Thunder. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of 500 human warships, ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields, behind moons, and in deep space for decades. Status of silent protocol? She asked. Colonel Hee-Won Young, her intelligence chief, checked her displays. All human worlds have gone dark as ordered, Admiral. No external communications. No ship movements in monitored space. Trade routes closed. We appear to have vanished from the galaxy. Sun Hee smiled coldly. The Draknari thought they had attacked weak farming colonies. They had no idea what they had really done. Those colonies were bait, early warning systems, sacrificial pieces in a game the aliens did not even know they were playing. How long until our fleets are in position? Sun Hee asked. General Tai Jun-Yu checked his tactical display. Another 2 weeks, Admiral. The deep strike forces are moving into Draknari space using stealth routes. The siege fleets are assembling behind the outer marker buoys. The Draknari have no idea we are coming. Sun Hee nodded. Humans had been preparing for first contact with hostile aliens for over a century. Every human world was a fortress. Every civilian ship carried hidden weapons. Every peaceful space station could transform into a battleship within hours. The colonies the Draknari destroyed were the furthest outposts, lightly defended by design. When aliens came, humans wanted them to think humanity was weak and scattered. It made the aliens careless, overconfident. It made them easy to kill. Bo-Ram Lee had delivered her survivors to Earth 3 weeks ago. Now she stood in the briefing room of Luna Base, looking at holographic displays of ships she had never seen before. Massive vessels with names like Death's Promise and Final Answer, ships that looked like they were built for one purpose: total war. "Captain Lee," said Admiral Sun Hee Choi as she entered the room, "your report from the Draknari attacks has been very useful. We want you to lead one of the revenge strikes." Bo-Ram straightened. "I am ready, Admiral. Those aliens need to pay for what they did." "They will," Sun Hee replied. "But first you need to understand what you are really part of, what humanity really is." The holographic display changed to show a map of human space, but instead of the few dozen colonies that everyone knew about, it showed thousands of worlds. Hidden bases, secret fleets, military installations that had been built in total secrecy. The colonies that died were not the edge of human civilization, Sun Hee explained. They were the early warning system. Behind them is the real human empire. "We have been preparing for this day since we first left Earth." Bo-Ram stared at the display. "How long have we been ready for war?" "We have never stopped being ready for war," Sun Hee replied. "Humans do not explore and then learn to fight. We fight and then learn to explore. Every human child learns combat. Every human adult serves in the military. Every human world can defend itself against anything the galaxy might send." The display showed human technology that seemed impossible. Ships that could jump through hyperspace without warning. Weapons that could crack planets. Shields that could stop anything aliens had ever built. "The Draknari think they attacked farmers and miners," Sun Hee continued. "They actually attacked the most dangerous military force in the galaxy. They just don't know it yet." On his command ship, Kethvar was getting worried. 3 months of silence was not normal. His tactical officers had run every scenario they could think of. Maybe the humans had all committed suicide rather than face slavery. Maybe they had fled to unknown space. Maybe they were planning some desperate final attack. "War leader," his communications officer called out. "We are receiving a transmission from human space." Kethvar straightened. Finally, the humans were ready to surrender. "Put it on screen." The display showed a human woman in a military uniform. She had cold eyes and spoke in a calm voice that somehow made Kethvar nervous. "I am Admiral Sun Hee Choi of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. "You attacked human colonies. You killed human civilians. You declared war on humanity. We accept," the transmission ended. Kethvar stared at the empty screen. That was not a surrender. That was a threat. But how could these weak humans threaten the mighty Draknari hegemony? "Sir," his sensor officer called out, "we are detecting hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts jumping in at the edge of our territory." "How many?" Kethvar demanded. I cannot get an accurate count, sir. The signatures are too strange. It is as if they are jumping in and out of hyperspace at will." Kethvar looked at his tactical display. The edge of Draknari space was lighting up with contact markers. Dozens, then hundreds of unknown ships, all moving toward Draknari worlds with impossible speed and precision. "What are their ship types?" he asked. "Unknown, war leader. They do not match any known human designs. These ships are much larger and more advanced than anything we saw at the colonies." Kethvar felt the first touch of real fear. The humans at the colonies had used simple fusion drives and basic metal hulls. These new ships were using technology that Draknari had never seen before. Technology that should not exist. "Send a fleet to intercept them," he ordered. "Yes, war leader." "Which fleet?" Kethvar looked at his options. He had 12 battle fleets defending Draknari space, each one strong enough to conquer a star system. "Send the 3rd fleet. If these humans want to fight, we will give them one they will never forget." But as the 3rd fleet moved toward the human ships, something strange happened. The human contacts disappeared from sensors. Not destroyed, just gone, as if they had never been there. "Where did they go?" Kethvar demanded. "Unknown, sir. They just vanished." On the bridge of the Silent Thunder, Admiral Sun Hee Choi watched the Draknari fleet moving toward empty space. Human ships had jumped away the moment they detected the alien response. This was just the beginning. "A test to see how fast the enemy could react. Analysis?" she asked her tactical officer. "Their fleet movements are predictable, Admiral. Standard formation. They group their ships close together for mutual support. It makes them vulnerable to concentrated fire." Sun Hee nodded. The Draknari fought like many alien species. They relied on superior numbers and firepower. They did not understand human tactics. Humans fought like their ancestors who had survived ice ages and world wars. They used deception, speed, and violence in ways aliens could not predict. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. Across Draknari space, human ships began their real attack. Not against military targets, but against supply lines. Fuel depots exploded without warning. Communication relays went silent. Transport ships carrying food and ammunition simply disappeared. The Draknari were about to learn what it meant to fight humanity. And they were going to learn it the hard way. Commander Jinsu Park watched in horror as the massive alien ships dropped from hyperspace. The warning sirens screamed across Haven Colony, but there was nowhere to run. His small defense platform had only basic weapons and shields. Against the 12 massive warships now surrounding the 3 human colonies, he might as well have been throwing rocks. The aliens called themselves the Draknari Hegemony. They had sent one message before attacking. "Your species will serve or die. Choose now." Jinsu had tried to respond, to ask for time to contact Earth government, but the aliens gave him 30 seconds before they opened fire. Haven Colony died first. The orbital bombardment turned the surface into glass and fire. 50,000 people lived there. Families, children, farmers, and scientists, all gone in minutes. Jinsu could only watch his sensors as the life signs vanished one by one. Dr. Na Young Kim was on New Jeju when the second wave of attacks began. She ran the agricultural station that fed 3 systems. The crops grew in perfect rows under artificial suns. Children played in the gardens while their parents worked. It was supposed to be paradise. The Draknari ships appeared like black knives cutting through space. Na Young grabbed the emergency broadcast system and started recording. Someone had to tell Earth what happened here. Someone had to remember. "This is Dr. Kim on New Jeju Colony." She spoke into the recorder as explosions shook the building. "They came without warning. 12 ships, maybe more. They are bombing the cities." The children. Oh God, the children are screaming. Outside her window, she could see the alien ground troops landing. They moved like insects with too many arms and legs. Their weapons turned everything they touched into ash. They were not just conquering. They were erasing. "They are killing everyone," Na Young continued recording. "Not taking prisoners. Not asking for surrender. Just killing. If anyone receives this message, tell Earth. Tell them what they did to us. Tell them we tried to be peaceful. Tell them we—" The building exploded around her. The transmission cut to static. Captain Bo Ram Lee was running evacuation flights between the colonies when the attack started. Her transport ship was not built for war, but she had to try saving someone. Anyone. She managed to reach Prosperity Station just as the Draknari ground forces started their assault. The mining station held 12,000 people. Miners and their families who had worked for years to build a life in the asteroid fields. Boram landed her ship in the main hangar as people ran everywhere. Families carrying children and whatever they could grab. Old people helped by younger ones. Everyone trying to reach the ships before the aliens arrived. "How many can you take?" asked Station Commander Wei, a tired man with scared eyes. 200, maybe 300 if we pack them tight, Boram replied. Wei looked at the 1,000 people still waiting in the hangar. They both knew the math. Most would die here. "Take the children first," Wei said. "The families with young ones," Boram nodded. It was the only choice, but it felt like giving up on everyone else. As her ship lifted off with 300 survivors, she could see the Draknari soldiers entering the station. Through her radio, she heard the last transmission from Commander Wei. "This is Prosperity Station. We tried to be peaceful. We tried to be good neighbors. Remember that. Remember us." Then silence. Jinsu Park's defense platform was the last to fall. His small crew of 20 soldiers had watched 3 colonies die. They had recorded everything. Every ship movement, every attack pattern, every moment of the massacre. "Sir," said Lieutenant Song, his communications officer, "we should send the data to Earth. They need to know what happened here." Jinsu nodded. The message packet contained everything. Video of the attacks, recordings from the colonies, analysis of Draknari weapons and ships. It would take 3 months to reach Earth through the hyperspace relay network. "Send it all," Jinsu ordered. "Market priority alpha. Full military alert." The data packet launched just as the Draknari ships surrounded his platform. He could see them through the viewports now. The ships were beautiful in a terrible way. Like weapons made into art. Everything about them said one thing: We are here to destroy. The lead Draknari ship sent a communication. The alien voice was like grinding metal. Human commander, your colonies are destroyed. Your people are dead. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly. Jinsu looked at his crew, young people who had signed up to protect human colonies. They had families back on Earth, dreams and hopes. But they all nodded at him. They knew what to do. This is Commander Park of the United Earth Defense Force, he replied. Go to hell. The Draknari ship fired. Jinsu's platform exploded in a ball of flame and twisted metal. War leader Kethvar watched the destruction from his command ship. The humans had been pathetically easy to destroy. Their colonies had almost no defenses. Their ships were slow and weak. Their weapons could barely scratch Draknari armor. Status report, he ordered his tactical officer. All 3 colonies destroyed, war leader. Total human casualties approximately 200,000. Our losses 0. Kethvar felt satisfied. The Draknari had expanded their empire by crushing weak species for 300 years. Humans would be no different. After seeing this demonstration of power, they would surrender within days. Then the Draknari could put them to work in the mines or use them for experiments. Any response from the human government? Kethvar asked. No, war leader. No communications at all since the attacks, that was normal. Weak species often went silent when they saw true power. They needed time to accept their new reality. Kethvar would give them a few days to mourn their dead, then demand their surrender. Boram Lee's ship jumped to hyperspace with its cargo of survivors. The children cried for parents who would never come home. Adults stared at nothing, trying to process what they had seen. 3 colonies. 200,000 people. Gone. As her ship flew toward the nearest human relay station, Boram made a promise to herself and to the dead. Someone would pay for this. Somehow, someway, the Draknari would learn that attacking humans was the biggest mistake they had ever made. She just hoped Earth was ready for war, because war was coming whether they wanted it or not. In the deep space between stars, automated monitoring stations recorded the attacks and began sending their own messages toward Earth. The signals would take months to arrive, but they carried a simple, urgent code that would change everything. The dragons were about to wake up.